everybody, and welcome to the second video where we are going to take another look at one of the other products that Chaos Group is offering with their V-Ray Next, and that is the VRScans. Now this video is supposed to be like a continuation from our previous one where I actually showed you how to install V-Ray Next. So if you haven't watched that one, check it out. And if you have and you followed along and you have already installed V-Ray Next and the VRScans and you have activated your trial accounts, this is what I want to do. First thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down where it says VRScans and click on it. If you scroll down, this is going to give you some general information as to what this thing is. It's going to show you the key features, and one of the things is that we want to do here is jump over in the download section. So you need to be logged in here. So like I said, if you followed along on the first video, you are probably already logged in. So once we click on the download, we're going to go over to VRScans. In here, we can see that we have 697 items in the list, and that is at the time of the recording of this video. So I take it that if you're watching this later in the future, this number might be bigger, as this list keeps getting piled on quite frequently, and we keep getting new scans added to this list. Now, what exactly are these scans? Well, they're actually surfaces that have been scanned so we get the highest level of realism that you would get. So basically, if I open up any of these, I have a preview as to how this material looks like. If I click on it, it will give me a really nice idea as to what I should expect when I put this thing inside my scene. And we will see how to work with this inside 3ds Max. But before we do that, let's just go back one more time and check this thing on this side where it says material type. You can see that in here we have quite a few different categories, and for example, if I just want to see leather materials, I can just click on the leather. It will siphon through all of the other materials and only show me the leather. If I go over here and let's just pick the gray Alcantara model, there we go. If I click on it, I can see that this thing looks really nice, really realistic and everything. So the way to get this is you click on the download and choose where you want to save everything. Just bear in mind one thing. These scans can be rather large in size for downloading. For example, this one is 256 megabytes, and some of them can be even larger, some are considerably smaller. So if you have a slower internet connection, or you may have a bandwidth limitation, keep this thing in mind. I'm going to go back one more time, and we can scroll down and choose whatever leather material that we like. If we don't, if we want to see everything, just unclick here, and now we can see all of them. Now, since I don't want to download any more of these materials, so we don't spend any more time downloading, I've actually downloaded a list of these guys so we can check them out inside 3ds Max. So let's skip over to 3ds Max and see how to work it in there. Here we are inside 3ds Max. The scene that I'm using is one of the older scenes that I've already made some tutorials on how to create some materials. So I'm basically reusing that scene. If we take a look at the scene, we're going to notice that this is actually a very plain and simple scene. I have my material ball in here. I have some UV unwrap done on this model. I have one simple plane that has been curved at the end. I have a dome light with an attached HDRI to give me some color, and I have one light on the side, so nothing complicated. And also, all and behold, we have the return of the V-Ray physical camera. So we're no longer using the physical camera, the standard physical camera for Macs, but instead we are back with V-Ray physical camera. Now the only thing that I've changed in here is I played around with the aperture so I can get some decent lighting in here, at least decent lighting for this scene. Now, before I go on to showing you how to work with this, let's check out the settings that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to press F10, and in here from the renderer, I'm actually not going to use V-Ray Next Update 1, but instead I'm going to use V-Ray Next Update, GPU Next Update. Now, once I'm going to do this, the first thing that I set up in here is the output. So I'm going to have 1000 by 1000 by 1500. In the V-Ray option in here, I'm not going to change anything else. I'm going to leave the global illumination to lighting cache for the GI. And what we want to do is we want to go over to preferences, and in here, just on the last one, you can see what we will be using to render this. In this case, I just want to have CUDA cores, and I will be using my GeForce GTX 970 GPU. If you have a better GPU, you're going to get better results. So I don't have the selection here to use my CPU as well as my GPU. I just want to use my GPU. So I'm going to click this thing off. So I'm not going to change anything else. In here, everything is going to be right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit on the render button and start off with the rendering. There we go. I'm going to stop this, close it off, and now once I start the interactive rendering, it will continue rendering everything in real time as I basically doing all the changes like this. All right, so as you can see at the moment, I have this material applied to it, and let's open up my materials and see what's what. Since the materials that we chose are actually not V-Ray materials, but instead they are VRScan materials, what we want to do is we're going to want to go over in our material selector here, and instead of a V-Ray material, we're going to click on here and choose a V-Ray scanned material node and click OK. Once we click here, we're going to get a bunch of different things that we need to change in here. And the first thing that we want to do is want to go over where it says File, click on it, which will open up your window where it's going to ask you where you have downloaded the scan or the VRScan file. And since I have all of mine in one folder, I can see them in here. So for example, if I go over and choose one of them, so let's go with the paint green and white gloss. So I'm going to click that one and click open. Right away, this is going to give me some information in here that I can read. Now, before I'm going to do anything else, I'm just going to stop my IPR here, stop the rendering. And in the physical size, this thing is actually 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So when the guys from Chaos Group were scanning the surface, that was the size that they were scanning it for. So what this means is that I have a real world scale as to how big this thing should be. Now, if I go over, put this thing to the side, I select my, my ball here, I can go in the measure and get some reading as to how big this thing actually is. In this case, I can see that this thing is 400 centimeters. So this is a 4 meter ball, which makes it really, really big, but which is actually not a bad thing in this case, but we'll see exactly why. So first thing I'm going to do is with this material ball selected, I'm going to apply the material to the selection, and I'm going to run the interactive rendering and see how this thing looks like. It's going to take it a second. Now it's using the GPU display, and right away now I can see that this thing looks simply amazing. So I haven't touched anything, and straight out of the box I get this very, very clean looking material. And with this, the resolution for this is actually directly controlled as to how big you have your screen, or not the screen, but the actual window for this. So once you make it bigger, you can see in here that the resolution changes and we get more details. So if I zoom in, you're going to notice that this thing looks very, very clean. There we go. So in this case, it's really not important what we're using for tiling, because if you take a look down here, you have some tiling options that you can change, and we have a clear coat option. Now in this case, we can actually choose how strong the clear coat is going to be, if we're going to actually even have it enabled. So if we turn off the enable, this will update in here right away, and you're going to see that we no longer have that clear coat on top of it. So now it's less glossy, we don't have that control. Again, we re-enable it and we get that glossiness back. So this is depending on what sort of a scan we have at the moment. But let's go ahead and try out a different scan and see what else we can change in here. The way I can change it is I can either create a new material, or instead I can just swap out the file that I just selected. So I'm going to click here, and from here let's try out something else. Actually here I want to try out one of, I'm going to try the foil one, because the last time I actually downloaded it, it looked really cool, and you'll see exactly what I mean at the moment. Alright, we have that thing selected, it's already applied. Once I run the interactive rendering, now you can see how this thing looks like straight out of the box. So we haven't done anything, and what we're getting here is a very, very clean result, as what you would get if you have aluminum foil that's crumpled up. I guess that it probably would have been a better idea to get this thing on a flat surface and test it out that way, but even as such, we can see how this thing looks like. But now, again, in the information it says that the size at which this thing was scanned was 30 or 29 centimeters by 38 centimeters. So since we know for a fact that this thing is a very large material ball, or almost 4 meters large, we need to change the tiling. But how do we get it so it's actually in real world scale? Well, that is where you have a very convenient option implemented in the VRScan material node, and that is the adjust UV tiling to an object. And this is the great thing about it. You can just click on it, which will allow you to select whatever material you want to apply it to, or make the calculation against, and just click here. It will do the calculations, and automatically it will tile this to 33.849 by 36 by 101. And like I said, this is exactly as the size as it was scanned. So it's taking real world measurements to give us the most accurate size for this thing, so it would look like exactly in real life. So the size for this thing would be just like it is in real life. And also, if you don't like this size, you can go ahead and manually select this thing and put it to whatever tiling size you want it to. and you're gonna see this thing. Now, I do need to mention one thing. If you will be using these materials, it is highly advisable to have a proper UV unwrap on your model. But what happens if, for example, you have a model that does not have a UV unwrap to it? Well, the guys at Chaos Group thought about that thing, so what they did add is they add the option to use triplanar mapping. So in case you do not know what triplanar mapping is, it's basically, it will take our model and it will take the maps that is projecting, and it will project one straight from the front, another one from the left, from the right, and from the top, and all of those are going to be basically melded together so you cannot see the seams. So that is the quickest way to get some unwrapping without actually using any UVW unwrapping. But by clicking this thing, you will get a little message telling you that the tiling factor is not 1 and that triplanar mode gives best results with factor 1. If we click 1, it will take our tiling that we just set to 10 and set them back to 1. Alright, like so. And right away we can see in here now that we are getting some nice details into the surface of this material ball, and the tiling does seem correct for the size of this material ball. Now the thing here is that also you can go in and change the tiling, but is not really the best outcome. So with this way, this is the fastest and quickest way to do it if you do not have a UVW unwrap. And let's go ahead and simply check out another material. So I'm going to click over there and I'm going to check the car paint blue material. In there, I can turn off use triplanar. There we go. And right away in here, if you take a look at this, you're gonna notice that this material works exactly like a proper car material shader would work for 3ds Max. There's no fuss. You just select the material that you like, and straight out of the box you have a material that you can just select and apply to your scene, and it will look great. This is production ready materials. So as you can see, these materials can really hasten up your workflow. It can make everything work a lot faster, and it can save you time, and with time save you money. And all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just choose another material, and this one, but as you can see, all of these are very different materials. Then we have a carbon one, which actually does have some texture to it, but let's go with wooden texture and see how that thing would look like. There we go. Once we have that thing opened up in here. All right, here we go. So as you can see, even the wood looks great. In case we want to change anything to the way that this thing is oriented, we can go over here, change the angle on the W, and work with it. Let's try with a triplanar and see how that thing is gonna deal with the wood. There we go. I think it's actually even better from what I had, like so. I zoom in, this is a very clean wooden texture, and if we want to rotate it around, we can go on the W, hit 90. This will rotate and change the way that the wooden texture is following the seams. There you go. But in this case, it's really not seen because this is a very, very clean wood. So let's try another one. This was the maple bird, so let's go with lace wood, I guess. Come on, there we go. Again, very, very clean. Turn out tri-planar. And we can see that this is a very quick way of visualizing all the changes that we do by using the IPR renderer and the V-Ray GPU rendering. And the great thing about this is that it's actually using the power of your GPU, which will give us much quicker preview of whatever it is that we are working with. So with this, we can actually put a close on this video, and I hope you guys had fun and you learned something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget V-Ray Next and VRScans. You can get a trial for free, and the trial has everything that the full version has. So go ahead and check them out. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.